Hello and welcome to the Guardian Football Weekly. Were you applauding offsides, cheering goal kicks? Lord knows what it was like at 5 to 4 in the morning. The board went up for 11 minutes. 11. Quansah couldn't walk. Jed Spence on the floor, spooning it clear. Dan Burn heading the ball into the opposition half. How were you when John Stones rolled it inches wide? Has there been a more exhausting half an hour watching England? Harry Kane couldn't even talk. There was a game before that game. Mexico went close, Pickford brilliant, and then Jude Bellingham and Bellingham again. Was this going to be easy? No. Quinones, brilliant volley. Bellingham won goal-saving clearance. Half-time, nothing silly first five, and then Jarrell Quansah dived in. He'd been excellent. His leg rolled over the ball and into the Mexican shin. It was a red. Panic. But then Gordon fell in the box. Harry Kane nerveless. It would all be okay. But then VAR, conspicuously absent for the last couple of weeks, noticed Harry Kane's errant kick. Penalty. Raul Jimenez doesn't miss them. And then the panic. They all crumpled at the final whistle. Breathe in that altitude. An unforgettable football match. There is balance here. Not everyone supports England. Don't worry. Before that, Erling Haaland sunk Brazil. One header and one wallop. A truly historic, the biggest day in Norwegian football. We'll get Lars' thoughts on that. And then there's Folarin Balogun's red card, suspended ahead of the US game with Belgium. Purely coincidental that Trump called Gianni to ask for that to happen. It stinks, and the worst bit is, it's not a surprise. Mark Langdon's left us a voice note about tomatoes. Not now, Mark. We'll answer your questions, and that's today's Guardian Football Weekly. On the panel today, Barry Glendenning, welcome.
I think you covered everything in your intro, Max, so if you don't mind, I'll just head off and go to bed.
I did say, do you want to go out for dinner after this? And you said...
Not with you.
Okay, fine. Archie Rhind-Tutt, hello.
Hi, Max.
You'll come for dinner.
I'm very much in.
On the night shift tonight, Nicky Bandini. Hey, Nicky.
Dinner time. It's breakfast time over here, Max.
No, of course. Let's start then with Mexico 2, England 3 in Mexico City. Mexico hadn't lost at the Azteca in 26 games, 2 losses in about 100 years. An unbelievable football match. Nicky, you watched this like most of our audience at 2 in the morning. How was it for you?
It was so worth it. I mean, it was. I was just saying before we came on air, there's no way I'm going to be able to sleep after this, despite not having gone to bed yet, because I'm absolutely wired from that. I think the first half, the last, you want to call it the second quarter now because it's been ruined by hydration breaks, but that second part of the first half after Bellingham's 2 goals and then the goal back for Mexico, it was like watching, I saw someone say this on socials, so I'm sorry for stealing this line, but it was like watching just a game that was permanently in the 90th minute for about 20 minutes. It was just constantly like, oh my God, and we were not even at half time yet. And now that feels almost like ancient history because so much happened in the second half as you laid it all out. This was one of the best World Cup matches I think I've ever seen. I really do. I think this was. I know we all have recency bias. I know we all have focus bias as well because of course we're talking about England. But I thought this was such an entertaining game of football. It faded a little bit at the end. I think actually after all the talk about England and altitude, it felt like Mexico ran out of steam at the end of the game. But it was chaotic, brilliant, wildly entertaining football with lots of flaws. I'm not suggesting it's the best in terms of absolute quality of World Cup games, but in terms of entertainment, this was magic. Well worth staying up for.
As an England fan, Archie, that last half hour, I can't remember who turned to who and said, well, they can't do this for half an hour in like the 75th minute. And it was absolutely exhausting. And they defended actually sort of heroically, I think.
I was tucked away in the bedroom of our apartment out of superstition in that we were continuing with the same formation that we had against Congo. And let me tell you, living this alone was an even greater hell. The agony.
I'll tell you, it wasn't.
That I had cramp in my leg from just tensing all the time. And when I saw the substitutions that it was Dan Burn and Jed Spence coming on for Nico O'Reilly and Elliot Anderson, I wasn't full of joy. I was thinking, he's taken off the defensive midfielder who doesn't have a yellow card. This better work. And are we not bedding in a little bit too early here? I thought back to half an hour before when I'd said, I think it was at 0-2, and this game doesn't seem so memorable. And Barry went, it still very much could be, in the sense that if Mexico win it. And to be honest, you knew that if Mexico were to score, then the game was done because England looked completely out of it. I can't think of too many games where the fans of a team end up being in the same condition as the team on the pitch by the end of it, because we were all so breathless. But I salute Jordan Pickford for 26 long balls.
Yeah.
I counted them. It was sensational. Can we think about how much hang time there was on the ball each time? I reckon we were up to about 2 minutes. And it was glorious. And you could just go down each member of that team. And when you think about the complaints of the previous 4 games, it's not looked that good. Here it all went out the window, and that's why I think it was even more beautiful.
Baz?
I'm totally gutted. It's quite funny, actually, because we did one of our little diaries on the way out of the apartment to come to this studio, and I was philosophical enough about it, but it's like a 12-minute walk to the studio, which I did alone with my thoughts, and by the time I got here, I was crushed. I won't lie, because all sorts of scenarios as to what might happen next for this England team were playing out in my head, and none of them were satisfactory as far as I was concerned. So yeah, the shit just got real, as they say, in terms of the fearometer. Having said that, I think England are to be applauded for that heroic defensive performance. I very much enjoyed Dan Burns' cameo.
Amazing.
I mean,
has anyone headed it further?
Yeah. Well, they say the ball travels further at altitude, so when Dan Burn is heading it at full power, it's going to travel, isn't it?
I was saying, I hope Dan Burn gets cramp, because it would take so long to stretch that leg. I was like, if someone's going to get cramp, be Dan Burn.
But I think Mexico will feel they left this behind them. They had the chances to win it. Even though he scored a penalty, it really wasn't Raul Jimenez's day. He missed 3 big chances in the first half. I think 2 brilliant saves by Jordan Pickford. And as much as I dislike the England football team, I do have a soft spot for Jordan Pickford and Henderson because of their Sunderland connections. Jordan Henderson managed to get booked without being on the field. I'm not sure why.
Another 5 seconds will take you.
It was time wasting. Yeah, Mexico, when they had the man advantage and they were throwing the kitchen sink at England, they were overhitting cross after cross after cross, and the ones they weren't overhitting, they were putting too close to Pickford, and I think they squandered their man advantage, and that will be a source of big regret for them and for me.
I suppose, Nicky, there are so many sort of turning points in this game. I guess, actually, England winning that penalty so soon after going down to 10 men is so crucial, and Anthony Gordon, who won it, there's so much talk about the wingers and who played well and who hasn't played well so far this tournament. He had a brilliant game.
Yeah, I mean, let's remind ourselves, by the way, Mexico never conceded the Azteca. That's the thing they don't do. They don't concede goals at the Azteca, ever. So the fact that there's been this moment of chaos in which Bellingham scored twice in the first half already is England have done the thing that's supposed to be hardest to do. They've already done the bit that's supposed to be the hard bit. And then the Quansah red card, suddenly it's like, oh, actually, is this all going to fall apart? The timing of that penalty is so huge, Max. Like you say, it's such a back-breaking moment for Mexico, and credit to them for not yielding to it, because they did, of course, get another goal back and put themselves in striking distance again. But I do think, again, if you're the team that is in your big fortress, I mean, the whole thing, God, Max, the whole game was so much theatre. Yeah. Like, I kind of want to throw in here, because it's going to be completely forgotten amongst everything else needs to be said, but like 5 minutes into the game, I think it was Lira gets in a little squabble with Harry Kane, and there's just this moment when the camera's on Lira and he's doing such a pantomime villain face. Yeah. I love it. I loved everything about the nonsense that was going on with it. But yeah, you know, this is your theatre. This is your Azteca, where you don't concede goals, and giving away one that cheaply for them, I think that was a really, really obviously killer mistake for Mexico, but such excellent opportunism by Anthony Gordon, who saw that moment and went for it. And that's kind of the story of the night all over for England. And again, little things that'll get forgotten. Elliot Anderson pouncing on the ball to start the move that leads to the second Bellingham goal. England were all about taking their moments when they arrived, and that's why they're going through.
In praise of Thomas Tuchel, the way that England paced the game from the start, they made sure to just keep their shape and not do anything too silly. But also when you look at how England made a decision not to pass the ball too much and instead to dribble lots. Because thankfully there are lots of good dribblers in this team. And we saw that on many occasions with Gordon, Bellingham. Bukayo Saka actually got stopped more, but that's another decision that Tuchel got right, in that Saka paired with Quansah was excellent for the defence on that side. And we saw Nico O'Reilly going up a little bit more. It was so well played. And look, ultimately the time, I know you don't like Lord of the Rings, Max, but the time that we chose to Helm's Deep in the end and just batten down the hatches, it worked perfectly. So it has to be said, credit to Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah. I just a note on Harry Kane, that when that penalty graphic came up, there were all those goals that he'd scored, and there was the one against France that was like 25 miles away, and I think producer Joel said that they've had to zoom back for that, and you're watching that going, maybe it doesn't go to his head because he scored so many penalties, but he missed such a massive penalty in the World Cup 4 years ago. You don't know how many World Cups he has left. That's a huge moment for him. And we haven't yet talked about Jude Bellingham yet, Barry. And what an amazing, to score those 2 goals and that clearance in that sort of short space of time was unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a massive big player for the big occasion. We kind of knew that anyway. It's great to have him in the side. I think he's emphatically answered anyone who thought Morgan Rogers should be in ahead of him, which is not to disrespect Rogers in any way. I think he's a terrific player. But Bellingham has been excellent throughout this tournament and was excellent again tonight.
Yeah, and I'm sometimes guilty of saying he's doing too much.
I think you have a point when you say that, though.
Yeah.
There are times. There was one stage this game, he did a lovely bit of control, took the ball away from 2 Mexicans into space, and then tried to take on another one instead of passing. So I kind of concur with your opinion that sometimes he does try to do too much. I think you could say the same tonight about Quinones, who has been brilliant for Mexico in this tournament. But after he scored, he started taking pot shots from stupid places, or shots that were obviously going to be blocked when other options were available to him. And that was, there were other Mexican players doing that during kitchen sink time. Again, just, shooting the ball into a wall of players. It's obviously going to be blocked. It might get a lucky deflection, but, maybe try something different.
And it's such a relief for Quansah, right? Who had a brilliant game until that moment, and he is foolish to go to ground. And at the, when the ref waves play on, most of us in the room are like, oh, it's fine. And then you see the replay and you go, oh, and then you see it again, you go. And I think he's unlucky, Archie, that he rolls on the ball, but it's, it's a definite red card.
It's a definite red card.
Yeah.
Maybe if we lobby in the right way to FIFA, we can get it overturned. Let's find out. But yeah, as soon as you see it go to VAR, you know exactly what's coming. Max, how did you find the final 20 minutes?
Oh, I mean, just so exhausting. I think, like everyone, just the fact that we were so deep, and it was either the left winger for Mexico, and you could see Quansah just couldn't walk. He couldn't breathe. He was like a zombie. You're like, God, look at him, the poor bloke. I don't know if he got all the altitude sickness for the whole England team, but he was absolutely fucked. Excuse my language. And then it was the little guy on the right, Alvarado. He's got a lovely left foot, and it was just like, I thought Spence and Gordon did a really great job doubling up on him, just making it really hard to get the crosses in. But every time they got a corner, it was just the exhaustion levels are incredible. Yes, Nicky?
Things that get forgotten in all this. Bellingham scores the 2 goals. We haven't even mentioned that Bellingham basically saves it from being 2-2 at half time. Bellingham was the one who took the ball off. I can't remember who it was.
Montez.
The ball fell to. Was it Montez? I think it was Montez. And that's the thing. There's so much happened in this game that you almost can't pick it all out. It's funny how you're talking about the end of the game, Max, because I actually felt like England really controlled the end of that game so well. Mm-hmm. My worry levels weren't even that high at the end. I thought that England were really, really strong, and I think again the substitution's fantastic. Obviously mentioned Burn, but Stones as well, who has that very nearly stick it in his own net at the end, but doesn't.
God. Yeah, we've only just heard Harry Kane's voice. Barry.
Yeah, it broke in a post-match interview. Can I just interrupt this loving briefly at the risk of sounding like Barry Buzzkill? I think you were being incredibly generous to Jarrell Quansah for saying he was unlucky to get sent off. We were clutching our pearls yesterday about the dirty Paraguayans. That tackle was way worse than anything anyone in a Paraguay shirt did yesterday. Okay, that's all I have to say about
closed.
that.
Look, I think he was unlucky, but he definitely shouldn't have gone to ground. It's a really silly thing to do. I think he's unlucky because if his foot doesn't roll on the ball, then he doesn't go into the guy's shin.
I think he does.
Do you think?
Very much think he does.
It's a wild tackle. I think it's a wild tackle. I'm with Baz on this. I don't know if it's worse than what happened yesterday, because yesterday there was some pretty bad stuff, but that was a very easy red card.
Yeah, well, at least it means we get to continue the right back problem. At least there's a consistent thing to worry about. It's just so exhausting. I mean, I suppose I don't know if the time is now to look ahead to us playing Norway, Archie, but. You sort of think that, we actually talked about France yesterday in the dressing room, or what it would mean to get off that pitch against that side kicking you, and what it means, and like the belief that you have. And obviously these tournaments, they can, it can be over like that. But in that England dressing room now, after all the talk of the altitude and how difficult this was going to be, and it was like a heroic effort, and so many people will be so broken. But the spirit that gives you and psychologically that gives you is just incredible.
You can look at it two ways. You can say, look, this shows our character. This shows what kind of a team we are. And maybe people were writing us off back home after the first 4 games that we couldn't bring a consistency of performance. But you can also say, emotionally, how much this might drain the players as well, and how difficult it's going to be to, how do we match that high that we've just reached? And there's also a very uncomfortable element to the Norway game, in that Premier League fans and England fans know so much about their 2 best players in Martin Odegaard and Erling Haaland, and it's kind of like, how do we deal with that? Because, as we'll get on to, they did very well against Brazil. They did very well against Brazil today. So, yeah, it's nice to actually, as an England fan, not have a feeling of we should beat them. And that was, I think, also what made this such a enjoyable win, because coming into it, I was not thinking, this Mexico team, we all knew about the altitude. We all knew how well they'd played so far in this tournament, unless you were Brad Friedel. Ultimately, this is an excellent win, and to be honest, one of my favourite England wins that I can remember.
I think that's a good point, that you don't watch that half hour when England don't have the ball, or when they do, they're passing between their centre-backs going, what are we doing? Why are we not attacking or pressing? You're actually quite satisfied that they're just keeping it tight, I think. Barry, you've already ordered a longboat, haven't you?
Our socials team very kindly bought me a Mexico hat. Baseball cap, because they were either too tight or couldn't source
a sombrero
and some maracas. Yes, so it's in the Burr colours, Burr GAA club. So I'm going to hold on to that.
I think there probably are,
and it's been I'm sure it'll end up in some socials, so that means they can push it through expenses.
Well, I was going to say, when someone says you've read 300 articles this year, we're funding really important journalism, and actually we're trying to buy Barry a longboat and a drum
and a hat with horns sticking out.
Exactly. Do you have any thoughts on the game against Norway, Nicky, or anything else from this game? There's just so much, as you say, there's just so much to cover.
Just pulling things out of my head and saying things at random. Sorry, Max, it's probably not very helpful, but there's just so
very
much.
Very much our MO.
Yeah, I think
Pull
so.
things out of your head and say them.
Did you have any other thoughts about this game, Nicky, or the Norway game?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I suppose in all of this is have we said enough about Mexico, who I thought the first part of this game, they came out so well. I think England handled it well, but I thought the energy and the directness in that early part of the game, and you saw Mora get on the ball and you thought, is this going to... And actually he ended up not having so much impact, but I thought they really came with something at the beginning of the game. And I thought I thought maybe they were the better team in the first half, despite being 2-1 down. They just had 2 moments of being undone by really, really excellent England efficient attacking. Getting to watch some of the Azteca has been a treat. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Even without being there, it's been a treat to see them at a World Cup playing there and having that energy.
And actually, Mora and Lira are were fantastic, I thought.
Mora was the one who was robbed for the second goal. He will be picked up, I'm sure, by both emotionally by his teammates, but also by a club at some point. Eric Lira as well, 26 years of age, plays for Cruz Azul in Mexico. If he wants to go somewhere else, I think he's shown more than enough at this tournament that there will be plenty of takers. I think from a Mexican point of view, this game will hurt so much more because not just it was at the Azteca, but it felt like they lost it rather than England won it, in that they just didn't pick their moments correctly.
That'll do for part one. Part two, we'll do Brazil-Norway. We're on to part two of the Guardian Football Weekly. So a great win for Norway. They beat Brazil 2-1. I caught up with Lars at full time.
Lars, I don't want your XG. I don't want you running the numbers. I just want to know how you feel.
The expected feelings, the XF.
Yeah.
They're giddy, Max. They're giddy. I was just kind of cackling like a lunatic for about 5 minutes after the second goals. I became completely incoherent, which I think is the only way to respond to this kind of situation.
I think you're right. I mean, that second goal that really was Erling Haaland just going, I'll just score.
It's a weird sort of, he's really good at shooting from range. Like he's got a foot like a traction engine. We know this, but he almost never does it. Which is maybe why the defenders didn't see it coming, because you notice they're not really closing him down. They're just, okay, he's on the edge of the box. Yeah, we got him under control. There's not a ton of runners around. And then he goes, whatever, I'll shoot. He should do it more often. He's really good at it.
The Nyland save, the one where the defender was at Ayer, I couldn't remember who it was. I mean, it's an amazing piece of goalkeeping. How did you feel as that ball was looping towards the back of the net?
I actually shouted. I had an involuntary physical reaction, which I'm quite a stoic football watcher, generally speaking. Watching it with friends who I think are often surprised that I'm not more like obviously emotional. But I just shouted no very loudly because I could see what was happening. And you don't want it to go wrong like that. Like that's just unfair and bad. This kind of looping, nonsensical. Erling Haaland, unbelievable from him today. Saving a penalty, saving several other things. And this is a goalkeeper who's been questioned by everyone. Like he's been our number one for a long time, but he's never been like the sort of, we're very happy and comfortable to have Erling Haaland in goal. He's often been on the bench for various club teams. This is a guy who was on the bench for Reading not that long ago, or it's just a couple of years, right? He's been constantly questioned and doubted by absolutely everyone. So for him to turn up like this, I mean, I would have said, I don't remember if we talked about it. I mean, my mind's a little gone at the moment, but if we did like a Norway preview pod, I would have flagged him up as a weakness. 100% I would have said that. I have to be honest and hold my hands up. So for him to have a day like this, where he just stops everything, like I half expect him to save the last penalty as well. I mean, he didn't, doesn't matter, but there will be Erling Haaland statues now, for sure. There should be many of them, and they should be very large, which is, again, not something I ever would have thought I was going to say out loud, but here we are.
Solbakken made those changes at half-time, and they both worked.
He made the exact changes I would have expected him to make after 65, 70 minutes. Alex Sørloth at right wing is a strange situation, but it's something of we'd like Alex Sørloth to be on the field. We can't play both him and Haaland up front, so we stick him out wide, and just, off you go, Alex, just be a winger, even though you're a 6'5" centre-forward. And it's an awkward position for him, and I think he does a heroic amount of work to try to make it work, but it's not his natural position. And Oscar Bob offers you, obviously, more quality on the ball. And Nusa was a little not at his best, maybe a little not super good defensively in the first half. So Sheldrup was there, he was chomping at the bit, and I thought he was very positive when he came in. So I thought those were really brave and assertive moves to make. They were to make it at half-time. I think I like a coach who sort of, there's no need waiting an extra 10, 15 minutes. Like, these are probably the changes we're going to make anyway, so we might as well make them now.
How big is this for Norwegian football?
Very big. The biggest. It's very clearly the biggest result, match, performance in our history. It's the biggest everything. It is one of those things that, like, I'm in America and I'm having a great time this summer, but I'm also kind of sad I'm not at one of the big public watch parties at home. Never mind in the stadium. Like, it would have been fun to be at home with friends and family for this. No, it's beyond anything that we've ever done on a football pitch. You could already debate that beating Ivory Coast in a knockout game. You know, we'd never won a knockout game before, so that was big. But this is absolutely ridiculous. You asked me how big it is. It's the biggest. It's full big. Can't get none more big.
XB, expected bigness is
big.
Well, look,
bigness is 100.
Lars, I'm absolutely delighted for you.
XG famously can never be 100, but XB, this is 100% XB. And the XF is out of control. Just now remembering it. When the second goal went in, I sat down in the pub, which is a strange thing to do. I was standing by the table because I couldn't sit down. And I just sat down and I was sat on the floor laughing in the first sort of 15 seconds. I guess that's how I react when these things happen. You learn new things about yourself every day.
I'm excited for how happy you are, Lars. You enjoy the
Thank
rest
you.
of your day. I'm
I
about
am
to get very
excited for how
stressed to
happy
watch
I am,
England,
Max.
Mexico. Cheers, my friend.
Hi, bye.
Look, Lars said a lot of it there, Baz, but we all loved that Haaland second goal so much.
Yeah, he just twatted it, didn't he? The ball came to him in acres of space outside the penalty area. It's like, well, we don't need to mark this guy. Who's this guy? We don't need to mark him. And he had a look around and he just went, wellied it and put it in the bottom corner. Great goal. I thought Norway were deserving winners. I was baffled by Brazil's approach to the game, just sitting back and attacking on the counter. That's very much not the Brazil I grew up watching, and I presume Carlo Ancelotti will get hammered for it in Brazil. And I'm sure he also had his reasons for setting up like this, but it didn't work. They had their chances, sure, 2 very good chances shortly after Norway went 1-0 up. But if your approach to a game like this is going to be this meek, you have to take your chances because you're not going to get many of them.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it.
And they missed the penalty as well. I mean, Nyland was brilliant in goal. But yeah, I mean, Lars has done a lot on Norway. Nicky, what did you make of Brazil's approach?
I agree with Baz. I think it was really underwhelming. I think that it is one of those things where we always write narratives to fit results, right? That's how it always happens. And this was definitely a game where if Brazil do take those chances, and they're really good chances, right? It's a penalty to start off with. Then when Endrick goes through a really bad first touch, but he should score, right? There's 2 times where they should score. And if they score those goals and they go through, maybe we go, well, it was a bit cynical, but it was what they needed to do to get past a dangerous Norway team. And you don't think about it anymore. And actually, this feels like this is now the recurring narrative with Norway. I saw it was James Benge of CBS was posting that in Brazil's last 3 World Cup eliminations, they've actually put up shots worth 8.48 XG. They've allowed 2.02 now. I'm sorry, XG is boring. No one cares about it. But I do think there's a point there, which is that actually Brazil have now got this absolutely entrenched narrative that what happens at World Cups for, the last 4 cycles, get through the groups and lose to the first European team you play. That's basically been what they do over and over again. Mm-hmm. And it is worth saying that in all of those games, it's not like they haven't made chances to do something different. They have. And actually what you need is to have someone as ruthless as Erling Haaland on the end of it, because if you take those chances, everyone has to tell a different story.
Speaking to a Brazilian friend of mine, this is our worst World Cup campaign in decades, and getting knocked out by Norway is one of our biggest embarrassments in a World Cup for sure. That's despite the circumstances of the game. Mm-hmm. And I think it's partly to do with the fact that Norway played like you'd expect Brazil to play, and Brazil played like Norway, and yet Brazil were the ones who created way more chances in this game. And Martin Odegaard, I found an interesting figure, because usually we just associate him with great creative moments, but actually Brazil got after him quite well. Mm-hmm. It's just they couldn't take the chances after they got after him, and Odegaard just kept going. He didn't let himself get affected by those mistakes. Of course, Oya Neuland, wow.
That save is unbelievable.
I think if you're a Norwegian fan, when you make that save from Christopher Ayers, it wasn't an attempted own goal, because I don't think you ever tried to score an own goal, but it's at that moment you go, you know what, I think this is going to be our day. And that Norway have a hoodoo over Brazil. What a team to have a hoodoo over.
I know, 5 times, is it?
That is an insane thing.
And actually, we mentioned it with Lars, but that change at half-time was big from Solbakken. And both the players that came on played really well.
Well, Schlederup played a part in both goals and had a real influence on the game. And Oscar Bob, let's just say he was a credit to the Murphy cat after whom he is named.
I was going to say, yeah, maybe he's stepped out of the shadow of Danny Murphy's cat Bob.
No, he caused Brazil all manner of problems. He was excellent. So.
We should mention, Nicky, as well, like the shit talking from Neymar for that penalty is like, what are you doing?
Oh my God. Like one of the most ridiculous scenes of the whole tournament, talking about pantomime earlier. But yeah, you're losing 2-0 in the 8th minute of 7 minutes of injury time. You score a penalty, you're still losing, and that's the moment to go and talk shit, since you said it, to the goalkeeper who's just had an absolute blinder. And then this very dramatic crying afterwards when they go out. That was a really weird scene. I just want to sort of add as well, because I feel like maybe it got lost in there. When I was talking about the XG and everything, I think Brazil deserved to lose this game. That was not by any means me saying I think Brazil deserved to win this. I think Norway deserved to win this game. And it did feel like in some ways that Neymar moment is emblematic of something more fundamental that's just not right in the attitude, isn't it? I mean, if that's your response to scoring when, who knows, maybe if you go grab the ball at the net and charge back, you can find some miracle. It's very weird. Very, very weird.
That Neymar moment... Phil Kitramalides, who we've had on before, said, if you want a translation of what happened, I went, Phil, tell me all about it, please.
Okay.
So Neuland was trash-talking Neymar in Spanish, and Neymar was replying to him, where do you want it? And when Neymar scores, he runs up to Neuland and goes, a mí? No. As in, you don't do that to me.
Right.
Is that the time to pick that battle?
I don't think so.
I don't think it is. And there's also, after that, you saw that when Norway were trying to run down the clock, Martin Odegaard was having the time of his life doing skills against Neymar. As a professional who would have grown up watching him as well a little bit, that must have been such a joyous thing. And to see that Neymar then loses his rag and you just see Martin Odegaard celebrate like that. Yeah, a great moment for Norway. Just one more thing to add with the Brazil.
Yeah.
Just quickly, Carlo Ancelotti might point to the fact that he had several starting 11 players be out with injury, and that kept on coming. Militao, Rafinha, Rodrigo, Vanderson, their right back, I think is worth pointing out, him missing the tournament because of, I mean, we saw with Danilo for that Sheldon up cross for Haaland, that didn't help, and Lucas Paquetá as well. He's got a contract until 2030 that they signed before the World Cup. I'm sure there will be calls in Brazil that there should be a Brazilian coach again, but he's got a lot of problems to sort out.
All right, well done to Norway. So England-Norway is on Saturday, I think, and that'll do for part 2. Part 3, we'll discuss the excellent news that Folarin Balogun is back in for the US against Belgium. Welcome to part 3 of the Guardian Football Weekly. So tomorrow, Portugal play Spain, USA play Belgium, and literally the whole of today up until the first game, and even during the first game, was this news that Folarin Balogun is available to play for the US after his one-game ban was suspended by FIFA. Their statement, in line with Article 27 of the FIFA Disciplinary Code, the implementation of the match suspension is suspended for a probationary period of 1 year. The Guardian's reporting that Donald Trump lobbied FIFA to lift the ban. Sources have told The Guardian Trump made 3 calls to FIFA, starting from Wednesday, to ensure the change was made. Trump thanked FIFA in a post on Truth Social. Thank you, FIFA, for doing what was right and reversing a great injustice, President Donald J. Trump. The Belgian FA said they were astonished. Belgium head coach Rudy Garcia said, I didn't know that at the World Cup, the 5th of July is actually the 1st of April. It's April Fools. We're not defending the national team or federation. We're defending football. Norway manager Ståle back in after the game said it's a big mistake by FIFA. It's not a great conclusion. And it stinks, Barry.
Yeah, it's a scandal. And I think it will end up being one of the biggest scandals in World Cup history. And there have been other scandals surrounding this World Cup. The Somalian referee Omar Arfan not being allowed into the country, the treatment of the Iranian team, and I think this is right up there with any of them, and possibly bigger. If this suspension was lifted through some very transparent process that is also available to anyone else who gets a red card in the tournament, I don't think anyone would have a problem with it. And, you know, I think the red card Balogun got was justified. Others think it wasn't. That's kind of irrelevant at this point. But because this ban was suspended on the back of a nod and a wink between Gianni Infantino and Donald Trump, it's a scandal that isn't going to go away. And the irony is that if Balogun wasn't a good footballer, Trump would be lobbying for him to have his birthright citizenship revoked. So make of that what you will. So I feel sorry and embarrassed on behalf of the USA fans, and I mean the fans who have been supporting the USA for a long time, not just the ones who started watching soccer 3 weeks ago, who seem to think this is great, because they're going to be tainted by association with this scandal, which, as far as we know, is not of their making. And it's unfair on them, it's unfair on Balogun, and because he's going to be forever associated with it. And I think this is something that will be talked about long after I'm gone off this mortal coil, and the precedent it sets it's disastrous.
Yeah, since the introduction of yellow and red cards at 1970 World Cup, no player has ever received a red card and gone on to play in the team's next match. Garrincha was sent off in the semi-final in 1962. He was cleared to play in the final, but there were no automatic bans there. But that wasn't necessarily all above board in 1962. I think it's safe to say.
People are equating this with the ban we've already talked about that was suspended on Ronaldo's behalf. The two games of a 3-game ban he got for being sent off against Ireland. This is completely different, because the Ronaldo ban wasn't suspended due to the intervention of some high-ranking Portuguese Prime Minister or President.
We should say that FIFA sources reportedly denied that White House pressure influenced the disciplinary outcome. And actually on that, the journalist Lena Hammond said, look, recently FIFA suspended Nepal's Football Federation over government interference. Several federations have faced sanctions for the same reason. So, it is in the statute, isn't it? You cannot get involved politically. Right, your FA is meant to be separate, and in many cases it isn't, but it's meant to be separate. And for Belgium now, of course, this is massive motivation for Belgium. But it is also, Balogun wasn't playing. They have planned to play a team that didn't have this guy in the team, and now they have to plan differently.
It's difficult to add too much to what Barry said there, because it's all spot on with the hypocrisy of it. I'd add, to be honest though, did they need it even? The way they've been playing at this World Cup, and everyone stepping up as a team.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't Pele. It's Folarin Balogun. He's good,
Pele, but still, football is also about dealing with the injustice that you face as a team. And whatever USA go on to do at this World Cup, it now also fosters the conspiracy theories from every previous game, where people may look back at refereeing decisions and go, "Oh, but was that one also part of this?" And the mental arm wrestle that I find constantly having in my head during this World Cup of enjoying the football before it then going back in the way of the people intent on ruining the football is, look, obviously it's not the worst thing, right, in terms of a problem, but it's still something that I'm sure that other people are going through as well, because it's just infuriating. And look, Gianni Infantino, a man without shame, he must be the most hated guy from Switzerland that I can think of. I cannot think of any. I mean, probably before Sepp Blatter.
Yeah, but no, everyone's going. Blatter wasn't all that bad. And for the referee as well. It's what happens if Balogun flies into someone after 5 minutes? Nicky, I don't know if you can add anything.
Well, I think anyone who is paying any attention at all to the noise during the games today would have heard the same joke being made in some variation 100 times over. Oh, why isn't someone on the phone about the Quansah red card, or even Declan Rice's yellow card at the start of the game? The problem is now you've opened the door to this question of, well, so a red card that we all understood, everyone in this podcast, everyone watching understood, if you get a red card, you're not playing the next game. That's always been clear. And the explanation that was given and was explained by Christina Uncle very well is that this is not, again, first of all, they haven't revoked the red card, they've just suspended it. And it's about a technicality of how the rule was, about how the VAR was used, right? So what the US has challenged the red card on is, they used slow motion and still frames when you're not supposed to use that. You're supposed to use real time speed replays to decide these things because everything looks worse in slow motion. Well, We certainly didn't do that for Quansah. We certainly didn't do that for the penalties. Should we go back and take away some of the penalties that happened in this tournament because the VAR was done incorrectly? I mean, it's just such a ridiculously dangerous kind of worms. It feels like if Balogun comes in now and plays a big role and they knock out Belgium, it's going to be a thing that everyone talks about forever. And yeah, I hate it. I don't know what else to say. I hate it.
I hate it. On the flip side, I did 2 posts that did reasonable numbers. One suggesting that the US could choose to suspend a Belgian player of their choice, and they're toying up between Tielemans and De Bruyne. And then one saying that actually, since Belgium complained, they've been replaced with Rotherham United, and now Belgium have to play West Brom in the first round of the Carabao Cup in August. So, yin and yang.
I'm surprised those tweets did good.
Thank you so much, Barry. I thought you'd like them. Anyway, Portugal play Spain.
I suggested and was widely ridiculed by a number of Americans whose timelines I checked, and none of them had posted about football/soccer before 22 days ago, citing all sorts of historical precedent that didn't take long to demolish. To avoid being directly tainted by association with this chicanery is just leave Balogun on the bench for the game, not play him. But that won't happen because Poch has come out and said, like everyone that really loves the sport and trusts ethics and integrity, I'll leave it there. I don't really need to carry on, do I? We celebrate this decision. Yeah. Do we, Poch?
Okay, well, that'll do for today. Stay tuned for some Mark Langdon information. But for the time being, thanks very much. Thank you, Archie.
Thanks, Max.
Shall we can't persuade you for dinner, Barry? What if we didn't talk about football?
I wouldn't be good company for you.
No,
and
well,
you won't be good company for me. So I'll just paddle my own canoe on this one, and then we can all
hug in the morning.
Hug in the morning.
You can paddle your own longboat.
Yeah, I'll paddle my own longboat to the beat of my own drum.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Nicky.
Thanks, guys.
Football Weekly is produced by Rory Simon and Matt Bentley-Viney. Our executive producer is Joel Grove, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Hi, Max. Mark Langdon here. Just thought I'd give an update. Now I'm back home. So for breakfast this morning, I had a crumpet. I'm sure everyone will agree that the only reason you have a crumpet is to just put lashings of butter on it, and I didn't disappoint in that regard. So it was mainly butter with a little bit of crumpet. I'm sorry to disappoint the bridge fans out there, but didn't have a bridge today. Got up late in preparation for the England game, so it was straight into lunch, which was prawns and seafood sauce, and then I call them bagels, and other people call them bagels, but bagel, tomato, all the same really. And talking of tomatoes, I was at a hospitality event yesterday, and the starter was a plate of tomatoes. I actually thought somebody was on a wind-up there. Then in terms of dinner, went to a Turkish butcher's supermarket, got a load of chicken sheath, some Turkish flatbread, spicy rice, new potatoes, some garlic sauce, and also some mixed salad leaves. Did then leave the mixed salad leaves in the fridge. Totally forgot about them until the rest of the food was demolished, so we'll have to have them later on in the week. Anyway, in preparation for the England game tonight, I've got some bacon rashers, and I've got very strong views on the best and worst of the sort of bacon ration sort of varieties out there at the moment. Maybe we'll save a top 5 for the international break pods. But for now, enjoy the rest of your trip in America, and I'll speak to everyone soon.